Good evening. I'll call the Board of Selectmen meeting to order November 4th, 2015. I'll rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item on the agenda is Doran Kraus for the water quality discussion. Doran, you have to turn the chair around. Thank you for coming in on an off meeting night, but Mr. Dalgevich and the board had some questions for you, so we'll turn it over to Selectman Dalgevich.
I know you're the expert. I don't really know a lot about it, but this water pigging, the way I'm reading about it, it's new technology. It appears to be working. Last meeting, I brought up a motion that we come up with $1 million in 4 different ways to do the unlined pipes in town to try to get it done. Would that be a fund sufficient to do that?
Well, it would certainly go a long ways to improving the water quality or the pipe conditions in the worst neighborhoods. There's, as we all know, there's a lot that needs to be done, but $1 million would certainly go a long ways to clean and line the worst pipes and or replace some of those that are in that bad a shape.
Okay, my second question, to actually know which pipes are the worst, can we run cameras down different sections?
No, what they do in the trade is they'll excavate a hole adjacent to the pipe and cut out a section of the pipe. They call it a coupon. And by investigating that coupon, they can tell the status and the integrity of the pipe.
But wouldn't it be more economical to run a picture? I don't know.
As far as I know, that type of videotaping is not available.
All right, so we have that for the sewer department. don't we?
Correct.
So by running a picture down there, you couldn't tell, like, the pipe is 80% corroded, or?
You really can't tell. You have to evaluate the sidewall of the pipe, and a surface view with a camera really would not show that.
All right, I get you. Okay. So that was my proposal, was to try to throw $1 million at it and try to get as much of this done, because all we're doing is just kicking the can down the road.
Yeah,
And,
I think
if we don't get the worst areas in town done, we're just going to keep having dirty water.
without question, I agree with you 100%.
And with the filtration system, that may be nice, filtering the water coming out of the ground. That's not going to have any effect on our pipes.
Agreed, and we've said all along that the correction to the water quality problems really is twofold: the filtration plant and upgrading and maintaining the distribution system.
They also brought up to petition the state to see if we can be held exempt from the reverse flushing until we can get this problem fixed.
Well, my professional opinion on that is I feel that may be counterproductive. With the way our system is operating right now, we're constantly precipitating out iron and manganese into the system, and the purpose of the flushing program is to purge the system of that accumulation. Now, granted, while we're doing that, we are stirring up the water, but that's the whole purpose of it, so that we can suspend it in the water column and flush it out. If we do not perform the flushing program, it's just going to accumulate to a point where the water quality is going to be so bad that everybody will be experiencing bad water.
So you would recommend continue the flushing? even
Oh,
while
I
we're
would
doing
highly
the pipe-
recommend that,
the
yes.
pigging? Okay. That was my other question, whether or not to stop it.
Yep.
Mr. Baker.
A question regarding how much pipe will we get done for $1 million? I vaguely remember hearing that we were going to, it would cost $100,000 to do 2,000 feet, from the first time that the water department presented this. So if that's the case, I'm a little concerned that $1 million won't get very far. So what will $1 million get us?
In all honesty, I have not seen current prices for cleaning and lining. When I last did it, which was a number of years ago, it was $110, $120 per linear foot. But the prices, I'm sure, have escalated quite a lot since I was last involved.
So that's for the lining. How about for the ice pigging?
The ice pigging is $2 to $6 per foot based on the diameter of the pipe. Obviously, a larger diameter pipe, a certain volume of ice won't go as far as it would with an 8-inch pipe.
So can we actually pig the pipe, clean it, and then come back at a later date to do the lining? Or did it have to be simultaneous?
The ice pigging is not preparatory to cleaning and lining. What the ice pigging will do, it will pull off the looser accumulations on the pipe, but it will not pull off the crustaceans called tubercles that are hardly attached to the pipe. When they do a cleaning lining process, they'll actually excavate a section of the pipe on opposite ends of the area to be worked and actually drag a scraper through the pipe, and that will scrape it down to bare shiny metal. Once they've achieved that stage, then they pull through with a cement liner that puts about an 1/8 thickness of concrete on the inside of the pipe.
So then the pigging will get us clean water. They'll leave the really, really hard material on the walls.
Correct.
And with this new filtration system, hopefully it shouldn't get any worse. So in the meantime, we can start funding relining the pipes.
Yes, I think that's a very fair statement.
Yeah.
Any other questions from the board?
So would it, I'm
Go-
sorry,
go
would
ahead.
it be fair to use a $4 average? You know, if it's 2 and
For the
6
pigging,
For the ice pigging?
I think that would be fair,
Okay.
yes.
Because if we have a, you know, I'm just using the number that we used before. If
Mhm.
you had $1 million just to do ice pigging, you could get a lot of ice pigging done.
Yes, yes.
Any
That's the
other
only
questions from the
questions I
board?
had.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you coming in.
One more. How quickly, if we can come up with the million, can we get them back? Because I know there's only one company that does it, right?
For the ice pigging, yeah, and they're booked out for a fair amount of time in advance. We were very fortunate to get them in this fall. We had originally scheduled for them to come in the spring because not only are they booked up solid, but they obviously can't do the ice pigging during the winter months. So if we appropriated money right now for ice pigging, we probably would not be able to contract them in until, I'm guessing, June or July.
Ice pigging, though, is starting Monday.
Yes.
This area of town, Lake Street and some of the off-streets, which is the worst area that they've identified. So the process is starting here in town, and there is something up on our webpage.
Yep.
A nice explanation and a map of where we're going to be doing it.
Right.
So
On Monday, we'll be starting on Eddy Street, and then we'll be branching off, doing a couple of the side streets and 100% of the Lake Street area.
And how did you pick that area?
Those were the largest diameter mains adjacent to the Park Road tank, and it's also one of the areas that has really been hit with the largest number of water quality calls.
And this has been coordinated with the cleaning of the Park Road tank also,
That
which
is
is going to
correct.
occur next week.
Yeah, the Park Road tank will be cleaned on Wednesday, the 18th.
So you anticipating if they start on Monday, you're gonna start getting a lot of phone calls again
We're
because of the pigging starting?
We're not expecting a lot of phone calls from water quality. The areas that will be immediately pigged, they will be out of water for a short period of time. And when I say a short period, maybe from 7 a.m. to noon. They'll isolate it, inject 2,700 gallons of ice slurry into the pipe. Once they have that into the pipe, then we'll open up one valve and use hydraulic pressure from our own system to push that slug down the pipe and exit out from a fire hydrant into a sewer manhole.
Each morning prior to the process starting, our staff will be going door to door and handing out flyers explaining
Yes,
to
we will.
people that they will be without water for a short period of time.
And because of the way the process works, we'll be ice pigging every other day, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And on the off days, the company will be generating the ice slurry.
What's the length of time you think this is gonna take?
7 days of actual ice pigging.
Okay, so 2 weeks. And it's 5 hours each day?
It's obviously going to depend on how many runs. If they do one run, it's going to take perhaps an hour to get all of the gates isolated, an hour to get the ice slurry in, and then the remaining time to push the slug through, which is going to be less than an hour is what we're expecting, and then open the valves back up again.
Will there be any traffic jams or situations?
We are trying to work around the Lake Street area so that when we discharge, we're discharging onto the side streets. We're very aware that traffic can be a problem on the Lake Street area, especially in the Whitcomb Street section. We're really trying to get onto the side streets that are less congested. We will have some police officer details there to assist in that, just to minimize that impact.
Any other questions from the board? Thank you. Thank you for coming in and letting us know. Next item is a vote to disband the Town Administrator Screening Committee. I'd like to ask Mr. Becker to say a few words prior to us taking this vote.
Certainly. The screening committee met just at 5:30 this evening. We took a vote and also some recommendations for the board. The vote was to dissolve. There was discussion with regards to should the screening committee put forth the remaining 4 candidates. Remember that we submitted 3 names. There was a name that we eliminated. There was another name of a person who took a job that left 4 names. So the discussion was, should we put forth the other 4 names? There was a question with regards to procedure. Should the committee actually do that because the procedure would warrant it? It was discussed that it was felt amongst the committee members, at least a majority of them, that the committee had done its work, has submitted the 3 names to the selectmen, and that was the reason for the vote to dissolve. In addition to that, in order to enhance the process, and of course this is up to the selectmen, in order to enhance the process going forward, we are recommending a couple of things. One is to possibly ask for input from the public if they want to serve on a committee, the next committee, by way of sending a letter in to some of the appointing boards or the town moderator. Just identifying their reasons for wanting to participate, maybe giving some of their background and why it would be a good idea to appoint them. That was one recommendation. Probably the major recommendation is to the Board of Selectmen is to not hold an interim meeting between the time that the names are provided to the board, and then have the board just do its interview. So don't hold an interim meeting to avoid, kind of some of the issues that came up. Possibly use a consultant was the third. Of course, that costs money. And then fourth, consider a higher salary, maybe using a range. Then we posted for the $125,000 salary, and was felt that due to the complexities of the town, we have a lot going on in this town, that perhaps the selectmen want to recommend a higher salary. So those were the four suggestions in the recommendation to dissolve.
So your group took a vote to disband?
Correct.
Any questions from the board?
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for serving.
Thank you for pointing me.
It's never easy, I know, and everyone else that's on the committee, you guys did a great job with what you had. I agree with the outside recruiter. I think that would make a big difference, and possibly, looking at a higher salary. But in the back of my mind, I also think that there may be a candidate closer to home that would fill this position nicely. So, with that said, I'll make a motion to disband the committee.
Second. So there's a motion and a second to disband, with a huge thanks to the committee, the Town Administrator Search Committee. Is there any other discussion?
Do we have to take a vote on this since they themselves disbanded? I'm not sure, just procedurally, if we even
Or
have
are
to
we
do anything.
Gonna,
Yeah.
or do you want to amend your motion to accept the vote of the search committee to disband?
That's fine.
Okay. So the way that he said it, or the way? Okay. The motion has been made and seconded. Is there any other discussion? Courtney, pull the board.
Selectman Becker?
Yes.
Selectman Sturgill?
Yes.
Selectman Childs?
Yes.
Selectman Begavich?
Yes.
Chairman Moore?
Yes. Next item is the Town Administrator Search Committee. We did reach out in preparation to this evening to Copeland and Page, just in case something came up. And if you wanted to come forward, Brian, that would be great.
Good evening.
Thank you so much for coming. I know that Attorney Hewitt couldn't be here, so we wanted to bring you in and get some suggestions from you as well.
Sure. I can go through Mr. Hewig's opinion for you this evening, and then if any members of the board have any questions, I'd be happy to field
Sure.
them. But as I understand things from speaking with Bill, and he apologizes for not being able to be here
It's
this
short
evening.
notice, we understand.
The issue that presently exists is the board had previously appointed the acting town administrator to 2 successive 3-month terms pursuant to the charter. A vacancy still exists with respect to the permanent appointment of a town administrator, and there's a question as to whether or not the charter permits the board to appoint Ms. Regis or Ms. Ledoux, I apologize, to an additional term. And Bill has set forth in his opinion letter those charter provisions that govern this situation. And the first one that he references and that speaks to the appointment process when there's a vacancy in the office of the town administrator, section 4.1 of the charter. And that's basically the process that the board has previously followed the past 2 times. I believe there were 2 prior votes, one in and around June 1st, and then one in and around September, maybe just shortly before, thus resulting in the temporary town administrator's appointment expiring on December 1st. There is, however, a second provision of the charter, section 4-4B, that talks about an appointment of a acting town administrator, and it doesn't provide the same type of term limits that you see in section 4-1. And Bill and I discussed these obvious, 2 provisions in the charter, and we developed or had the opinion that while the board had appointed the acting town administrator on September 1st, on June 1st, and then again on September 1st, in light of the fact that there were 2 successive 3-month appointments, that's really, a temporary town administrator appointment pursuant to section 4-1. So the section 4-4B procedure is still available to you, where you can appoint again, and you don't have the same type of restrictions relative to appointment length, and you would be able to then go through the process of seeking out qualified candidates to fill the vacancy on a permanent basis.
So in the charter, section 4-1, section B, it says any vacancy in the office of town administrator shall be filled as soon as possible by the Board of Selectmen, but pending such regular appointment, the Board of Selectmen shall appoint a qualified town administrator officer or employee to perform the duties of the office on an acting basis.
Right, and there's a difference there with respect to section 4 that talks about temporary basis. So via the board's previous votes in June and September, what you appointed was basically a temporary town administrator. You still have the ability to appoint an acting town administrator pursuant to 4-4B, and again, you don't have those term limitations that you would see in 4-1.
Now, my question to you is that we have been addressing Ms. Leduc as our acting town administrator since day one, even though we've appointed her as such as a temporary, that doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't.
Okay.
The way the board voted in the successive votes to extend the appointment for 3-month terms, once in June, once in September, controls.
Fell under the process of 4-1.
Right.
Do you feel that this ambiguous wording should be cleaned up when we do a charter review? If this is a little open to legal interpretation, it should be a little more well-defined?
I think that the provisions of the charter certainly give the board, flexibility in the event that a situation like this occurs, where you go through a screening committee process, and then you have to, recommence that process again. In my opinion, the provisions themselves read together, I think, give the town a good framework for, appointing a qualified individual to serve on an acting or a temporary basis. But certainly, if there's, a desire to clean that up, you can have that discussion at that point in time.
And,
But-
Mr.
go
Chairman,
ahead.
I'm sorry, if the board isn't comfortable with that scenario, then, of course, the board has the ability to appoint an interim town administrator and I did reach out again to Copeland and Page, and ask them if they could provide the board with maybe some individuals who do this.
Mhm.
So that's always available for the board, too.
Knowing what we're running into over the next few months, we're running into many holidays coming up over the next few months, and I think it's gonna be a longer process than the last committee took if we do put together another committee, because of so many holidays over the next 3 months. I think that in the best interest, in my opinion, in the best interest of the town for the short term, we should, or my recommendation would be to, at a minimum, come December 1st, ask that if you're interested in being reappointed, does it have to be for a 3-month period, or do we have to put a date on it? Do we have to
No,
put?
you don't have to put a
Okay.
date on it. You can certainly include that as part of a motion, but it's not required under 4-4B.
And the only reason I ask that is because of the fact that we are going through the next 3 months of so many holidays, so many people going away, and then if we start the process again, it might take somewhat longer. I think that in the best interest of the town, we have to at least start with the basics, and I think that, and this isn't a review Pam night, but Pam has done a remarkable job to date, and I don't think anyone on this board, or speak for myself, is dissatisfied in any way, shape, or form with the job that you've done. But looking ahead, we have to think of the town, and we have to think of the town, first of all, tonight, what we're gonna do come December 1st, and then secondly, what we're gonna do in regards to whether we hire a headhunter, or we put together another committee. So that's my homily, and I'm sticking to it. And I would ask the board for any
Well,
other
I agree
suggestions.
with Pam's standing position. I think the ship is running really good right now. Actually, the employees are very happy with Pam, which probably hasn't happened in years. The only thing that I would add to that is that we would make Pam's job more just the TA position, because you don't worry about budgets and so forth, and appoint Lisa, as the assistant temporary town accountant, acting town accountant. So this way you have that off your shoulders. You just worry about the day-to-day operations of the town as a whole.
And you mentioned also, Mr. Dogevich, the budget process. We will be starting that in December. So the putting together of the budget is the town administrator's responsibility. And so that is going to be, right now, we're going through our audit. Our auditor is here, so we are going through the audit now, so it's a busy time. Everyone has stepped up.
And you mentioned about the budget, though, just so everyone's reassured that you've probably done the budget for the last number of years. So you have no issues with doing the budget.
I've had significant input in the budget, yes,
Is that
in the
the form
past.
of a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to that effect.
Second.
Just, and Lisa is capable, just so we can get your opinion as the accountant.
And I'm
to take
here,
over.
I'll, of course, I'm going to be, walking her through the actual mechanics of doing a journal entry, but, she's quite capable with managing the day-to-day.
So a motion has been made and seconded. Any other discussion? Well, can we do that effective immediately, or do we do it effective December 1st when her current 3 months expires?
You can, in my opinion, you can do either. You can make it effective now, or you can do it so that it's effective basically at the expiration of this upcoming, 3-month term.
Well, might as well just make it effective now. It's just going to continue on until we do something anyway.
Very well.
Yes, Bob?
Just a quick question. I think we've already, as far as this procedure, we've used this procedure in the past, so we do have precedence here. We did this with Dana. right?
Yes, we did.
So we've already done this before
Yes,
as
we
far
did.
as the ability to do it.
Right,
This being enacted.
right,
Because Dana was enacted.
He was here for 18 months,
18
actually,
months, so.
as an acting.
as an acting.
A motion's been made and seconded. Any other discussion?
Just to clarify, Selectman Dugevich's motion, you're looking to appoint Pam Ledoux as the acting town administrator pursuant to the charter section 4-4B, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
And also appointing Lisa as the acting town accountant.
Lisa Dumont, yes.
Correct.
That's
Okay.
correct, yes.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, if I could, Pam, do you believe that we should be looking to hire maybe some part-time help to also help in the accounting office? I know that you've been wearing a lot of hats these days, and we definitely thank you for that. But if maybe we were able to take on another part-time staffer to help with that caseload coming into budget season, you would be able to focus more on the duty of being a full-time administrator?
You know what, I appreciate your comments, and myself and Lisa will discuss that. And if need be, to hire maybe a part-time person to help her with her day-to-day, which is accounts payable.
Sure.
If the board would support the ability for me to do that, I would appreciate that.
Because my
yes.
thought is that we still have the vacancy from Melissa's office, having been empty all this time, and we were anticipating having someone full-time be hired by a new administrator. And since it looks like that process may be on hold, maybe a part-time solution would be beneficial.
Well, actually, I would like to ask the board for their approval for us to seek to fill that position at this point. Courtney and I have been, alone in the office for the past 5 months, and Courtney's done an outstanding job, and we've discussed it. There are several things on the human resource side that we are trying to get better at, which have been lax for a very, very long time. And we feel that that position really needs to focus on the human resource and personnel side of things for the town. So if the board would support that, we would like to advertise to fill that position immediately, get someone in there to do that. And that, in turn, would take off some of that pressure also with what we're trying to accomplish and getting better at those types of things, so.
I wouldn't disagree with it. The only thing is, I would caution whoever goes in that seat when there is a permanent town administrator, that they understand that the town administrator may be looking at someone that, they're looking to bring in that may be a good fit. I'm not saying that it would be a temporary position for someone in that position, but just maybe make that person aware that, they're filling in for now. We don't know. We're kind of in flux a little bit. Because you're better off being up front
Sure.
than later on shooting ourselves in the foot.
Oh, absolutely.
Any other discussion?
No, I think we've thanked Ms. Ledoux quite a bit, but we do owe a
Absolutely.
thanks to Courtney, because
Mhm.
she's been wearing two hats as well, so thank you.
And know that she's the only one in the office that, actually, no, I have to take that back. Courtney answers the phone 99% of the time, but Pam has answered the phone when I've called too.
I'm able to do that, Mr. Chairman. I can answer the phone.
No,
I got that down.
I'm not saying that you can't answer the phone, but, you know, sometimes
We got that down.
you know, they just don't answer the phone. That's not what I meant. It came out completely wrong. It was supposed to be a compliment, but I guess that didn't work.
You know, and also, and I say this, and I don't mean to be a broken record, but I'm adamant about the fact that, you know, it's Courtney, this isn't just me, it's the employees. They're amazing. They come to work every day and put 300% into their jobs. And I really appreciate all their support and what they do for this town. They care, and they come here every day and do their best for you. So, thank you.
Thank you again for everything that you both have done. I know it's been trying, but a motion's been made and seconded. Courtney, pull the board.
Selectman Becker?
Yes.
Selectman Scarlett?
Yes.
Selectman Jordan?
Yes.
Selectman Duggan?
Yes.
Chairman Moore?
Yes. Now, under that same vein, under the town administrator's search discussion, I don't, you know, we may not have to decide this tonight, but I think one of the things that we as a board have to seriously think about is, one, that we potentially raise the amount that we have to pay a town administrator for this town. This town is a very tough town to run. It's a very busy town to run, and it's just never ending. And number two, do we hire an outside headhunter, which would cost us somewhere between $10,000 and $20,000 on hiring a headhunter, and to submit resumes. I think it's directly to the Board of Selectmen rather than going through a whole search committee again. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay. And this way, we give them the parameters. These headhunters this is basically what they do day in and day out for municipalities. It's not a headhunter looking for someone for a $9 an hour job. This is a very different thing. So I'm not saying that it's something that we need to make a decision on this evening, but maybe we look into it to see what the actual cost may be. Through the MMA, is it MMA, Bob? That they do that, and see what we come up with. We have to look at where and John McAuliffe is not here anymore, but his legacy certainly is. That doesn't mean he's died. Don't anyone take that the wrong way. But he's not here anymore, but one of the famous things he always said is, how do we want this town to look? What do we want this town to look like? And I think that's one of the most important things that we have to remember when we're looking to bring someone else into this town. And if we need to bump it up, then it's our decision that we need to bump it up. Do we need to hire a headhunter? Do we hire a headhunter? I think these are important things that we may have to think about over the next week, and then bring it back to the board on Monday night?
Yes.
Monday
You're
night.
meeting Monday night,
Right.
you are. Mhm.
Has the town had good experience in the past? Have they used a consultant, a hiring consultant?
Yes.
Headhunter.
Yes. Yes, we have in the
Yeah.
past.
No.
Mhm.
And with good success?
This is where
Yes.
John came to us from.
No.
No,
He did not?
John went,
yeah.
He went to,
he was recruited out of here.
Yes, by one
no,
of the...
no, when he,
He wasn't recruited in.
oh, okay.
Superintendent, they did it.
Okay.
But
But John was recruited out of Webster by a headhunter, so.
But
okay.
we,
Sorry,
we used one, didn't we? Was Mr. Hool by a,
I thought we used
I
one.
think Mr. Hool, I think he came through
That didn't work out.
yeah, well, but we did use that process before. We have used that process here.
One of the things you keep in mind as far as that, they will do as much or as little as we want.
That's right.
Sure.
We have to decide the parameters for them, and then what they do is they will give you names, and then you just go through the process again.
Right.
At, at the risk of bringing the topic up, does that comport with the bylaws because of the requirement to have a screening committee? Believe me, it hurts to ask that question.
Can you repeat the
In
question?
other
I'm sorry,
words,
Mr. Becker.
the bylaws require a screening committee.
Yeah, my understanding, however, is that there's been some use of a headhunter or a recruiting firm in the past?
Right, in conjunction with the screening committee.
Okay.
Okay, all right, so that was,
It just sounded like they were going to come just to the selectmen.
well, yeah, I
Oh,
mean, so
no, no, no,
that
no.
clarifies it to a certain extent, that you have, almost like a dual process where you still have a screening committee that's appointed pursuant to the bylaws and set forth in the charter, and then at the same time,
They utilize the
they
services
utilize the
of a-
services
Mhm.
of, okay, yeah.
So, may I recommend that we process that? We've had a lot to process since last Friday. We're at a point right now that we're somewhat stable, and that we swallow what we have on our plate right now and come back to the board on Monday, and we all have some recommendations and move at that point. Any questions from the board on that? Thank you so much for coming in at
Thank you very much.
such a last minute,
Our pleasure,
but
always.
we appreciate that. Our best to Bill.
Okay.
Any other business unknown at time of posting?
I have one announcement. We lost a legend in town, so I asked that we do a moment of silence. Jeremiah Moriarty, who was a longtime school administrator, passed away. So maybe we can do a moment of silence for him.
Thank you. Any other business?
Mr. Chairman, I have something I'd like to bring up. At our last meeting, I made a comment about how I thought the screening committee may have committed an ethical violation. That was brought to my attention through an anonymous resident, and after reviewing the correspondence with the State Ethics Board, I can conclude that the accusations were actually an overreaction to a procedural issue. Furthermore, it was a little short-sighted of me to allege the claim without having concrete evidence of a violation. I realize that my comment may have caused some people to speculate about various members and their integrity, and for that, I sincerely apologize. That was not my intent. I can honestly say that every member of that committee has upheld the highest levels of professionalism in my dealings with them. Lastly, I recommended dissolving the committee because I was disappointed in the candidates that were presented. It was an overreaction, and as a result, I withdrew my motion. I should have trusted the committee's judgment in their recommendation of candidates. With that said, I would like to commend the entire committee on the work they did to bring forth their candidates. Every member worked very hard to suggest candidates and felt they could move Webster in the right direction. I would like to thank all of them for their hard work, because I do realize the amount of work that went into that committee, and having no fruits of their labors, I'm sure, is quite disappointing. However, there is no question that we have all learned a great deal through this process, and that is going to yield us the perfect candidate so that we will get it right the first time. So I just wanted to put that on the record.
Thank you.
So, and with that said, that's it.
Entertain a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to adjourn. Any other discussion? Courtney, poll the board.
Yes.
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 Yes. Thank you.